Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and start. Welcome to this session as part of the Inuka SME program by the Kenya Bankers Association. The program is supported by the banking industry, and our goal as KBA and through the Inuka program is really to support micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to make sure that they navigate industry and market challenges. And now that we're in this COVID space, global health crisis, what we've been doing is providing regular mentorship sessions every 2 weeks. We host regular mentorship sessions on various topics, from HR management and legal management to digital marketing to financial management and cash flow management. And today, we're very happy to have a conversation about the opportunities within the green economy. You might be asking yourselves, well, we're in a COVID environment, where are the opportunities? There's certainly opportunities, and we're going to be hearing from a phenomenal speaker today about those opportunities. So we have been providing free mentorship sessions and online learning. We have a website, inukasme.co.ke. We're going to post the URL of our website during the course of this program, or I should say this session. So you can go online. We encourage you to go online and learn. More than 3,000 entrepreneurs have taken this course and learned and improved how they operate and improve their ability to access commercial finance for their businesses. So we really encourage you to use this opportunity, this COVID kairos, to build and learn. So today we're talking about the green economy, and I think a lot of us have heard about this idea of build back better. So build back better is a concept that was introduced by the country of Japan to the UN General Assembly as a strategy of how countries and economies can recover after a natural disaster. And this strategy is really looking at how to become more efficient, how to become more of a circular economy, and also how to reduce carbon emissions so as to reduce the risks of climate change. So that rests very squarely, the Build Back Better concept rests very squarely with our topic today. And we all know that climate change is real. I'm sure if you talk to anybody who is in farming, including our relatives, they'll tell you that the weather patterns have changed. So climate change is not a hoax, it's definitely real. And we do know that as a global economy and global community, we need to manage our emissions, reduce carbon emissions, and manage global warming. Right now, the global warming rate is about 1.2%. Our target is 1.5 and no higher. So therefore, we're going to hear about what does that mean from an entrepreneur perspective? What are the opportunities to leverage? So today, allow me to introduce our speaker. Our speaker is Edward Mungai. He's the founder and CEO of the Kenya Climate Innovation Center. Edward is a phenomenal person. The things that they've been able to do at KCIC is quite amazing. They've supported thousands of entrepreneurs. They've created more than 2,000 jobs, these entrepreneurs that are focusing on climate change issues. And they've been able to generate revenue. These businesses supported by the Climate Innovation Center, they've been able to generate revenue in excess of $16 million. So we're going to hear about where this money is and how we can get this money. On a personal note, Edward is an avid runner. I should call him an avid marathoner. He's run in 19 different marathons. Can you imagine? He's the kind of person who makes everybody else think that every Kenyan can run. But we really respect what Edward has been able to do. And without any further ado, I'm going to ask Edward to pull up his slides so he can walk us through his presentation. Please utilize the chat function to post your questions. I'll be picking up those questions as we go along and posing them to Edward during the Q&A session. So we'll receive his presentation. We'll have a very vibrant Q&A. We encourage you to please just post any question that you have, and we'll get Edward to answer. This is Nuru Mugambi. I'm very happy to be your moderator for today. And over to you, Edward.
Thank you very much, Nuru, and good morning. Thank you very much, Nuru, and good morning, everybody. Nuru, actually, you forgot something, that we actually went to the US together with you for 7 weeks to just think around issues of sustainable development and stuff like that through the Eisenhower Fellowship.
This is true. This is true. You're my Eisenhower brother. That's true. Sorry about that. I did forget the Eisenhower connection.
No,
And
no
you also
worries.
made me try to run. Remember we run?
Yes,
Remember
we
you tried
did.
to make me run?
We did.
I'm
We
not a good
did.
runner.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
anyway, good morning, friends, and good that we are all here. Well, I've been requested to speak about the opportunities available for SMEs in advancing the green economy, and I will definitely jump into that. But actually, before I get into that conversation, I want to, first of all, actually, I think, Nuru, if you allow me, I think I saw somebody who is in the participants, who is the deputy governor of Nyandarua. Yes, and I just want to appreciate that you are here. You've been one of my big followers, and I really appreciate that.
Welcome,
And
Ashua.
welcome.
Yes.
So that said, let me tell you a little bit about KCIC, because I think this way we will be able to build the introduction, and I can be able to jump into this. Well, as Nuru was saying, KCIC was established in 2012, and the sole mandate of KCIC was truly to help Kenya entrepreneurs to just think about how they can be able to green their enterprises, meaning how can they actually be able to benefit from climate change. You know, we are told, and I think Nuru also mentioned, that climate change is the biggest threat that is facing humankind, but we are turning it around. And we are saying, as you try to address climate change, you can actually make a business opportunity. And that's how then KCIC was established. I think there is a picture of myself there, and you can see that time probably I wasn't doing many marathons as I do today. That is definitely clear. KCIC was then funded by the Danish government and the UK government to the tune of about $4 million US. But subsequently now, I think we are on phase 3 of KCIC, which is about $50 million US. And all this money, my friends, is just about helping entrepreneurs to come up with brilliant ideas that would help our country to become more resilient. Now, that said, in the beginning, we started with Strathmore University, we started with GVEP International, we started with Government of Kenya through Kildi, and also PricewaterhouseCoopers. And kind of, we are saying, well, let's have some people in academia, some people in the NGO world, some people in the government, and also private sector, which is PwC. And that balance, I can tell you, worked miracles, because this is why we are where we are, and still counting and going forward. Well, that said, what is a green economy? You know, many people ask this question. What does this mean? This is actually an economic growth that is compatible with reduced emissions. When I talk about reduced emissions, I'm talking about where we are reducing our carbon footprint. And this carbon footprint could be reduced by an organization. It could also be our responsibility as people, you know, as individuals, that we can be able to reduce our carbon emissions by the kind of food we are eating, by the kind of waste that we are creating, and also for our organization, what are the products we can be able to develop, what are improvements can we be able to make within our organization that then would reduce that carbon footprint. It is also about improved efficiencies in terms of the usage of natural resources. You know, Kenya, for instance, is a natural resource-based economy. So if indeed we use our resources in like what you call normal, then we will be able to have a challenge. And remember, at the end of it all, what we are trying to do is to safeguard future generations. As Nuru was saying, well, we want to keep temperatures below 1.5 degrees centigrade rise, you know? And the reason for that is because if we go beyond that, then definitely our world will not be as it is today, you know? I keep on reminding people that we are indeed living in a borrowed world, which means, and we have borrowed it from future generation, which means two things. One is either we leave it as we found it, or we make it better. So, and this, through this green economy, is how then we can be able to achieve one of those two options. Then it's also about the protection of the ecosystems and how then we can be able to maintain or make them better. You know, looking at these 3 bullet points, I know what is going through your mind, and I know many people are here because you want me to share what opportunities are there. Of course, I'll be able to share the opportunities, but it's good to look at these opportunities in 2 perspectives. One perspective is where you can be able to create new products and new services, where the other opportunity is where you can actually be able to look at your systems and your operations and see how best you can be able to improve them. You know, it's not about bringing in new technology. It's not about bringing in new things. It could be retrofitting what you've got. It could be you championing greener things or making new products. So let's look at it from those two lenses, and hopefully then it will be fun. Now, why are we actually focusing on the issue of SMEs, and what is the role of SMEs in this space? Now, traditionally, this discussion about green economy is not an SME discussion. What we have seen, and research actually is only now that we are proving that that research is not working, is when we are trying to prove that even small and medium enterprises can actually be able to engage in these issues and be able to benefit. You know, when we are talking about green economy, you'll hear Safaricom saying, well, we want to achieve net zero emissions. You know, you'll hear KCB trying to champion things about environment, trying to Equity Bank wanting to plant 40 million trees. And you as an SME, you are asking yourself, well, this is a thing for big organization. This is a thing for people who are profitable. This is for thing for those who have big markets. Well, the truth of the matter is that, and as I was saying, there is quite a lot of research, which probably in my institution, which is also Strathmore University, we are trying to prove that indeed SMEs can provide an enormous opportunity, or can actually be able to achieve a lot of benefits in terms of working in the green economy. And I'll come back a little bit in terms of what are these competitive advantages that SMEs can be able to achieve. Of course, we know that SMEs, 70% of our economy is driven by SMEs. And therefore, even in this issue of green economy, if we ignore these SMEs, then we are ignoring 70% of the achievement that we could be able to achieve. And that's why it is very critical that within your organization, you start thinking about it. SMEs contribute both employment level and both at employment level and employment growth. So these are two connections that we are seeing more and more Kenyans being employed by these SMEs. It's also that they are stimulating value addition, which ultimately help us to achieve industrialization. And indeed, if we go doing it the traditional way, you know, I'm trying to avoid that word brown economy because it's not sensitive, you know, green, brown, and those kind of things. Now there is a lot of discussion about colors, and I don't want to get into that conversation. But the key point that I'm trying to raise is that if indeed we ignore greening or going into sustainability within SMEs, then we'll definitely be able to have a challenge because we will be losing this 70%. SMEs tend to be more innovative. Well, the good thing about you guys, you are not like ACB, you are not like Safaricom. You can be able to make decisions as fast as possible, which then means this is an opportunity where we can be able to bring in new innovation, new ways of doing things at a very faster rate as compared to bigger organizations. And that's why I still believe, and I have a lot of interest on this space, trying to help SMEs to be able to green their to be able to green our economy and through their systems. Now, as I was saying, there is a couple of options in terms of how we would look at these opportunities. And the only two things that I want you to take from this slide is one, business model, and the second one is technology. Because these are the things that will be able to enable you to be able to achieve that opportunity that is existing within the green economy. You know, the truth of the matter is that a lot of us think that innovation is about technology. Well, it is true. Half of it is about technology, but then half of it is also about business models. And what am I talking about? Now, if we look, I'll give you an example. For instance, we have been having biogas, and as you can see on the top left of my slides, you can be able to see that we have had biogas for many years. Now, this biogas that we've been having, normally it costs on average about $1,000 for you to be able to put a biogas system that will be able to cook comfortably for about 4 or 5 hours on a daily basis. Now, what we have seen is that the level of uptake of that solution have not been as successful. And the reason for that is because not many farmers, and yet a farmer with 2 cows can be able to, to make such a system or benefit from such system, but they cannot afford to be able to own $1,000. So in that case, then, there is need, if we think about a business model that can be able to enable that farmer with 2 cows to be able to acquire this biogas. And how would that look like? It could be that then you have a system which have metering system. a biogas which is pay-as-you-go model, meaning that you cook for 5 hours. Instead of paying me $1,000 one upfront payment, you give me small pieces. You pay me 30 shillings for that day because you've cooked for your 5 hours. And that replaces the kerosene that you are using or the firewood that you are using. And that means that it is still the traditional technology we are using. The only thing that we are adding on top of it is a new business model. And that new business model is what we are calling pay-as-you-go model. Now, on the contrary, you could also bring technology. You could say, well, okay, you can afford $1,000. That's as that. Then take your salary, take it to a factory, a biogas factory. Let's package that biogas in LPG bottles and then bring it back to you. Now that becomes technology. Is about an innovation through technology, whereas the first one was an innovation through a business model. And my friends, what I'm asking here is that within our SMEs, we must be able to define where do we want to belong. It could be both places, that is business model or technology, or it could be both. And therefore, then it is critical that as we establish what are the opportunities, and I cannot try even to attempt to tell you what opportunities are there, but the truth of the matter is that there is so many opportunities. I think Nuru talked about 1,000 enterprises. In fact, I've seen 7,000 since 2012. I've seen over 7,000 innovative ideas. So basically, what am I saying? There's so many opportunities, there's so many ideas that need to be generated, but of course, there is also many challenges to be able to see those things through. And those are the same things which are making us in SMEs and entrepreneurs not actually to be able to develop into this green economy. But going back to the competitive advantage that I was talking about. Now, why should you bother as an SME to involve yourself in these green opportunities or the green economy? Well, there's a couple of 5 reasons that I would give you that would make you to be able to kind of produce competitiveness within your organization. Number one is about revenues. I go back to the example of the biogas where you expect Edward to afford $1,000, he cannot. But then you get another alternative where you give him pay-as-you-go model. That way then you sell a product and you can be able to make more Kenyans to afford that, which then means is that your business will get more revenues if you make that innovation. So one key element, one competitive advantage is of course revenues. Of course, those revenues also could be that you have greened your systems within your organization. These days when I go to supermarket, it's very interesting. 10 years back, 5 years back, I wouldn't see people on the shelves of the supermarket reading what are the ingredients or trying to take notice of what are the ingredients of different products. These days, I see people taking a lot of seriousness, checking on what is the makeup of the product. This is actually the trajectory. We are seeing more Kenyans moving towards becoming greener. What does that mean? If your products are made sustainably or they are green, then you have more people buying your product. And in that case, then you have more revenues. So that's one way that you can be able to create competitive advantage. The second way is also related to your profitability is costs. Now, just imagine, and I give an example with my institution, which is Strathmore University. Strathmore University is, for instance, probably is not an SME, but it's a good example for SMEs. We have a 600 kilowatt power system, which is powered by solar. Probably it's one of the businesses which is being, other than the power generators, is one of the companies or one of the organizations which is paid by Kenya Power. We are used to paying Kenya Power. And because of that 600 kilowatt system, we actually put power to Strathmore, and then some we put actually to the grid. And in that case, it's just switching. So within your SMEs, for instance, you might be producing, it might be a dairy or such kind of an organization. How do you heat your water? Do you heat it with boiler, with firewood, or with solar? And if you heat it with solar, solar is free. So that means that you are going to manage your cost and you are going to reduce your cost. So the other alternative, the other opportunity that you can be able to achieve is in regards to managing of your cost. The third opportunity is something that I call license to operate. And this is a big one, because we need that social license to operate. You cannot afford to pollute and expect that the communities, NGOs will allow you to continue doing that, and especially in the era of social media. this is not going to happen. I mean, you know very clearly we have had big projects which have gone down the drain because of not addressing the issues of, or rather not achieving this, what I call social license to operate. They are not greening their system, and therefore people have seen them as enemies. And what happened next? They are on lockdown, if I can use that word, and they close down and they lose a lot of money. Again, for you to gain the social license to operate, you must be able to gain your opportunities. Then risk management. And this risk management is also from the perspective of NEMA, for instance, and regulators and other regulators. We have seen NEMA these days clamping people down, you know. I mean, you see, even when you are printing, I know some of you are packaging goods. You cannot today package good with what do we call it, with the plastic bags before you get some approvals from NEMA, you know. And even your printer cannot be able actually to try to print, because then there is a little bit of a challenge there. So in this case, then we see that there is more risks to be managed if you are not green, and therefore that's why I'm encouraging that also SMEs should also look into this green space and see what they can be able to embed within their business. The last one is obviously the brand creation and making that your name to stand out. Look at some of the businesses that we've seen here, businesses which are associated with good environmental sustainability. We have seen that those businesses are actually thriving because of their brand, and they are able to bring in some of these benefits like revenues. They have better name in the market, and that comes with some advantages. So friends, these are some of the things. These are the 5 advantages that you're going to get once you get into being a greener company. Now, of course, there are many challenges. For it's not an easy journey. And I can tell you, having looked at these 7,000 and probably supported close to a 500, and out of those 500, probably with another 300, which is successful, there are many challenges. Challenge number 1 is enabling policy framework. You know, I've been talking about biogas, well, it's an interesting space, but you know, biogas, and I give you an example of packaging biogas into LPG bottles. Now, remember, all over the world, and especially when you're coming up with innovations, we say that innovations comes ahead of policy. So what does that mean? We need a listening government. We need listening policymakers. Because what is going to happen is that after this webinar, you go home and you are thinking, how can I be able to get to make some good products that are talking to these environmental sustainability issues? Now, you'll bump into good ideas, but unfortunately, sometimes you'll find that some of the ideas you come up with, you cannot be able to put those products into the market. And the reason is we do not have a standard. We do not have a policy framework for that. Remember, I talked about packaging biogas. There is no policy for packaging biogas in Kenya. So we have helped businesses to package biogas. Unfortunately, they can't put it into the market. Why? Well, packaging of biogas, there's no regulation, and therefore you cannot be able to sell it in the supermarket. Access to finance, and I'll talk about this because this, I think, is also a bigger challenge. So allow me first of all to pass on that. Market conditions. And market conditions now is when we are seeing things happening. You know, when you make, and I normally give a good example here, when you make your farm to be organic, for instance, that means you are subscribing to environmental sustainability. And that farm, because it's organic, it's a bit expensive actually to make organic food. So if you take it Quick Mart or to another place, people might not be able to see the premium that you are charging, and they will not be able to pay that premium. So they go for the traditional products. So market trends and market conditions is a challenge. But the good news here is that we are preaching the gospel. And I also want to convert you guys that we keep on preaching this gospel of green, because then we can have more people accepting, and they can be able to pay 10 shillings more for those who have gone ahead of us and have tried to make products that are more sensible in terms of our environmental footprint. Then access to skill is also another big challenge, and people not having the right skills. For instance, we find that many of the business people who are coming up with these ideas are not necessarily people who have education or skills within business environment. So these are people, if you tell them to make a business model, they cannot be able to do that. If you tell them to keep their books and separate themselves from their company, they will not be able to do that. And therefore, and I like what Nuru was saying about mentorship program, because this is also about access to skills. So let's be able to give people skills skills that can be able to help them to make better business models and they make their businesses to thrive. Then there is also the issue about knowledge and knowing what, for instance, about IP is about knowledge about technology. And really, again, here is where we can have mechanism where we are matching people with different people from different places. And therefore, then instead of reinventing the wheel, you could very quickly be able to come up with good products which with assistance from outside or even from our own country, but then bringing different people together to share that knowledge. The last one is about access to infrastructure. And these are things like kind of like testing facilities. And a good example here is when I see many people coming up with cook stoves and they want to make them, those cook stoves to be the optimal cook stove, like the most efficient cook stove. But then they don't have the skills, they don't have the infrastructure to be able to test the emissions, they don't have the test to test the efficiency of those cook stoves. So that infrastructure is needed. And you know, this is why KCIC, for instance, exists, because this is exactly what our services are. We provide finance, we provide advisory services, we work with government as part of Vision 2030, Minister of Environment, Minister of Energy, to try and push these ideas to the next level and work on the policy support side. It's also about access to information, could be market information, could be technology information, could be about finance information, and finally also is about access to facility. Where we have in-sourced, normally we have a space at Strathmore where we can be able to accommodate these businesses. We also work with World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, and KIPI, which is a Kenyan entity, to try and support people who are registering their ideas, because there is also a big challenge here that many of our people still want to die with their ideas so that those ideas cannot be stolen. Now, we help to try to register those ideas, and therefore that nobody will be able to steal them. And this is a big issue, but then something that you're trying to work with so that then we can ensure those ideas are pushed to the next level and people are not fearful that they will be stolen. It's also about outsourcing some of the services. I talked about these testing services and demo services. It's also about product design, where we work with people like Autodesk Foundation from the US to help us with software to help people to prototype and to product design. And it's also about prototyping. So again, this is some of the ways, some of the mechanisms that we can be able to address those issues. When talking about finance, finance is different. And you know, SME is one of the biggest challenges that SMEs, and Nuru, thanks for the work that you are working Kenya bankers together with the central bank in terms of this guarantee fund for SMEs. You know, these SMEs, you have a challenge in terms of raising funds. And if we can be able to address this, we will be able to see some more traction. But it's even more difficult when it comes to this space of green SMEs or greening our SMEs, because then the kind of products, the understanding, the knowledge that is there about this sector is not there. And I'll show you in a short while what we are working with, and probably something that should be replicated by many, just to make sure that we are availing resources to the SMEs. And this is it, you know, financing for SMEs does not need to be plain vanilla financing. You know, what banks are probably providing is sometimes plain vanilla, meaning that it's you know, it's kind of, there's a checklist. Do you have 3 years of financial statements? Who is your auditor? You know, do you have X number of staff? Do you have a board? For how many? What is your sales? You know, and that, if you are trying to promote green SMEs, somehow it will not be able to work. Of course, it will work at a later stage, and I'll show you, or rather you can see on my screen that at a later stage is where we are having bank funding. But before that, you can see there is 3 clear other financing mechanisms that need to be in place. For instance, we need proof of concept. And I'll give an example of Kenya Climate Innovation Center, where we have a proof of concept fund where we give for free, please note, for free up to a maximum of $50,000. We can give you 5 million shillings to go and try. You come tell us, Edward, I think I can be able to do 1, 2, 3 things, and it can be able to help our environment in this way. Then if I agree, or the team agrees, then we will be able to give you 50,000. Of course, we don't give you the $50,000 at once. We give you in tranches, also to manage our risks. And please note, there are chances that you'll fail, there are chances you'll succeed. Now, what happens if you fail? If you fail, we write a nice story. We'll share that story with many so that nobody else will ever try what you are trying. because we lost money. Of course, if you succeed, then we move you to the next stage. And that next stage is what we are calling startup capital. And that is what within our books we call early stage financing. And we give you even more money. Now, the caveat here is that this more money will give you at 8% interest rate, which is much cheaper than the bank. But again, is risky because you just have had few products into the market. We are trying to push you so that you can have bigger sales, and therefore then people like Barclays or KCB or Kenya Bank as members, they can be able to accept you. But please note, even before that, before you go to those guys, there's still the early stage financing where you need money from the impact funds. Again, within Kenya Climate Innovation Center, we have what we call Kenya Climate Ventures, which is our subsidiary 100%. And this is a fund. And it gives up to a maximum of 600,000 US dollars, where in concessionary rate, not, and there's many other things because it comes with technical assistance, it comes with other things because we work with you. We work with you to help you build the business. And the moment you receive that money, then you are ready to go to the big boys and you can be able to go and be funded. Now, this is very critical because if we are going to grow ideas, we cannot grow ideas with non-risky capital. So that's why we give money for free. And at the same time, we give you incubation and acceleration services, meaning that we roll our sleeves to be able to work with you and to take you to that other next level. Then after that, you get early stage financing, which again also comes with technical assistance and all the money that we are providing. And not only us, I think this is what I'm saying, that it needs to be replicated, where we give soft money, at the same time, let's roll our sleeves, let's walk the journey, and hopefully then you can be able to succeed. And also let's have some appetite of losing, you know. Sometimes some ideas will come, they are brilliant, but until they are tried, you cannot be able to tell it will work. And indeed, this is what we have done. Out of the businesses we have supported, probably more than half of them have succeeded. Another half probably, another quarter is still trying. Another half, we have written them down. But what does that mean? Well, we have lessons that we have picked along the way. And I think the key point in life is to pick lessons and be able to do something with those lessons. So that's about financing, and that ends my presentation, Nuru. And I hope that I can be able to take questions, especially where you want me to clarify more things. But I think the opportunities are there. As I said, we just need to think about our business model. We just need to think about the technologies that we are using. And again, let's not look at greening as something which we call CSR, cosmetic social responsibility. Indeed, we do these things for our sustainability. We embed them in our strategy. And if we use that mentality as SMEs, that is part of us, is part of our strategy, then I can tell you the benefits are as many as we can be able to count them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edward. What a very informative presentation. I've also learned a lot of what you do. So wonderful complement to the formal financial system, and indeed coming in to provide that bridge financing between early concept and later stage. So that's fantastic. We mentioned that Her Excellency Cecilia Mbudia, who is the Deputy Governor of Nyandarua, has joined us. I don't know if she's able to unmute her line and just say hello, so we can hear about the experience in Nyandarua County. You know, I think that county, primarily the output is agricultural based. It's largely agricultural and value addition to agricultural products. So indeed, this issue of climate change is one that the county is paying attention to, and the fact that our Deputy Governor from Nyandarua is on the line tells you how seriously they're taking this conversation and this topic. So thank you, Her Excellency. I don't know, are you able to unmute your line and say a few words, Your Excellency?
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I want to thank you, Mr. Mungai and Nuru, for this opportunity. Indeed, as Mr. Mungai said, I'm one of his great fans. And I'm also a fan of Nuru, in case Nuru you do not know, because I think when I grow up, I want to be a bit of you, a bit of Mungai and a bit of Nuru. I have a great interest in this area of sustainability and what it can do for us to improve the world. I have a little information about KCIC. It's a part of the work that KCIC does, and also what Nuru has been able to do with the first green board in Kenya. Mr. Mugai, I'm still reading that book. I read it once, I'm reading again. The book you have written on impact investing. And I hope that one day we shall be able to sit and have a discussion. Beyond that, I want to thank you for this initiative, because indeed SMEs in Kenya are a large part of the businesses that we have, and they do have an impact in this environment. And it's important to focus on them, because as we look at where jobs will come from and how they can be sustained, then all of these things come to play. It is even more important now in the face of COVID-19, when businesses are struggling and they are looking to become more competitive, or they are wondering how do they tweak their business models so that they can survive this challenge and grow as had been envisioned. So I want to thank you for the opportunity. I've learned a lot myself from that presentation. And I want to say that from where I am, some of these innovations and the businesses which are supported by KCIC are really, really important, because we recognize that in our country, we need to create jobs, especially for the young people. And young people are innovative, they need support. I've met some who have passed through KCIC, and I recall one who had come up with an innovation for a greenhouse. As Nuru mentioned, our county is a county that is very much agricultural. A lot of food comes from there. But with climate change, we are seeing challenges. We no longer know the seasons. And so what we have tried to do is to support innovations like in greenhouses, and we need them to be affordable, like the one which came through KCIC or supported by KCIC. So I would say it's very important for us to continue to pursue that kind of support to SMEs, and especially businesses for young people which are innovative and which are looking for funds and for mentorship. Will be very much assisted by the offerings of institutions like KCIC. The issue of us taking care of our environment and going green is really important. If I were to talk a little about my county, we pride ourselves. We think that we have a good forest coverage, 28%. Most of Kenya is not that. It's below. It must be below 10% forest cover. But what we are seeing is pressure coming from our farming activities. And so we do not know how the future will look like. So we want to encourage that people are planting more trees, that people even maintain their forests so that they can benefit from carbon credits and such. And this whole matter of making sure that our country is not very much impacted by climate change, or we are adapting appropriately, is quite important. You know, yesterday I got a surprise. I don't know how maybe participants here may have heard about it. In a place in our county, there was black rain. Rain came from the sky and it was black. So a certain environmentalist called me and he was explaining to me, do you know that this is very concerning? It is a case of pollutants which are in the air and they may have traveled many miles. And where this rain now falls, it contaminates water and all of that, and it is important for us to check whether what kind of water are people consuming. So we need to play our part. We need to play our part, whether in the businesses or even individuals, play our part in terms of making sure that we are not going very bad in terms of the environment and the target which has been set. Is it 1.5? 1.5. These issues are really important. Lastly, come visit Nyandarua, then you get to know a bit more. It's 50 kilometers from Nairobi, by the way, from a place called Sokomjinga. It used to be called Sokomjinga. We have now renamed it to Sokompia. It is the largest county in central Kenya, covering 1/3 of the former central province. There's a lot of land for agriculture, and the most productive county is rated by KNBS today, I think last year, and the best destination for investments. Is a county which is doing well right now, and where we are inviting even investors to come and invest in our county and live with us. Thank you for this opportunity. I don't want to take too much time from the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. What a wonderful, wonderful intervention. We're so thankful that you're spending your Friday morning with us, and it's quite impressive to see what you're able to do in your county. 28% forest cover is no small feat. So congratulations to you, and indeed it's a challenge to all our counties, including my Meru County, in terms of making sure we're planting trees. You raised very many insightful comments that I'll add to our wrap up. I think at this point, I'll pass it back to Edward. We've received quite a number of questions, so we're going to go through them very quickly. Edward, there's a gentleman called Kizito who is online, and he's an innovator, and he has a very innovative product. So he's trying to see how can he benefit from the KCIC Proof of Concept Fund. So maybe if you can advise us, the website, where should people go if they want to access the funding program that KCIC offers? Maybe you can let us know. There's another question that has come that says, what is your take on recycling human waste in apartment buildings? There is a stigma. How do we navigate that? So maybe you can take those two questions, and then we'll keep moving with the other questions that are coming in, please.
Thanks, Nuru, for that, and thanks, Cecilia, for your good words. And indeed, I'm looking forward to come to Nyandarua specifically because of that 28%. And we have just introduced a new program within KCIC, which is called commercial forestry. So we are looking at forestry from a commercial perspective. I like the point you say that chances are that, Kenya, of course, we have about 8% forest cover, but also with 28, you can't be guaranteed that people are not going to cut down the trees. And later you said agriculture is interfering with that. One thing that we have recognized is that how can we be able to make forestry commercial, kind of growing sustainable trees and sustainable forestry. And that is something probably that I would like us to have a conversation and see what can we be able to do in your county as we try to roll out that program across Kenya. Well, that said, I think for KCIC and for application, our website is kenyacic.org. We do have a lot of information there. And I'll also be posting my email address just in case you've got anything that you'd like to personally ask. I think I can see somebody asking for my contacts. And and then I can be able to share with you all the information, and especially when it's not very clear on the website. Now for Kizito, I would like to hear can you tell us what is your innovation about?
Maybe I can answer. I'm not sure if he can speak, but he's saying he's developed, I didn't want to give away his idea.
Okay, but that's fine. But that's okay. Yeah. That's okay, Nuru, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine because I also talked about IP, right?
Exactly.
My suggestion is that once I post, once Roslyn or somebody post my email address there,
Yes.
then she can, he can be able to write to me. Sorry for that. He can be able to write to me, and I can be able to respond and see how we can move it forward.
We also have his email, so we'll share it with you as well.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah. There was a question about what is your take on recycling?
Yes, of course.
Human waste?
Yeah. Indeed, we have had a couple of cases which have been looking at schools and how we can be able to use human waste for gas and for even briquettes. And as you know, well, there's that stigma, but also what I was trying to say is that awareness creation is one key component. And when you look at KCIC, just to give you an example, we have 3 parallels that we work on. One is, incubation and acceleration. The other one is financing, and the other one is awareness creation. This is out of realization that for about 5 years, what we were working on issues of incubation, acceleration, and financing. Basically, what that means is we are working on the supply side of things. Now, we were not caring, or at least we had not had the insight that you also needed to sensitize Kenyans that this product makes sense. So one of the other things that we have added within our services is that awareness creation, where because of such kind of stigma, in fact, until probably 5 years ago, my own mother believed that if she used her TV using solar, it would be messed up, Solar it cannot work with solar. And if it works with solar, then it will be messed up, That's the stigma also. So there is many stigmas around this green economy, and we are trying our best. And I was saying that I want to convert you as evangelists to preach this gospel that indeed it works. And in that case, even when you are making briquettes out of human waste, that you have already killed all the germs and it's fine. It doesn't smell, it works as normal, and therefore we should be able to use it. So there is quite a bit of work to be worked on there, but it's a brilliant idea. I've supported a couple of cases which are doing that, and some of them are going very well, and especially where you address this stigma issue. Thank you.
Yes, okay, so wonderful. There's a follow-up question by Daniel, and he's saying from Lolongo to Embakasi to Dandora, Kawangware, Juja, there's raw sewage coming out from the floods. So I think he's just echoing your point that there are opportunities to recycle some of this human waste and household waste.
Correct, Nuru. That's one perspective, and indeed there is a business opportunity there. But also, more importantly, I think what we should also do is the owners of these flats and things like that. We should also encourage them, to look at the green economy and try to see what opportunities lies there. Instead of disposing this waste, can they be able to use it, or can they be able to not to pollute, but kind of harness it in a certain way. So again, that's why I was saying there are 2 things. One is introducing new products, but the other one is actually looking at what you are doing today and seeing how you can improve it. And really, for these owners of these flats, maybe that's an opportunity. But if some young people have brilliant idea of how we can use this waste, why not?
Great, thank you. There's an interesting question here from David saying, I understand Kenya has a robust policy framework around climate change, and he also mentions that Treasury is also keen to advance this issue about the green and circular economy. So David is asking, how do such initiatives get devolved at the county level? So I guess it's this idea, how do we move from policy to implementation at the county level?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, because normally now we have 2 systems of government. We have the national government and we have the county government. And I think we will agree that for county government, it works depending on how progressive and how interesting the people who are running that county are. I give you an example here. We have a project which we are just kind of launching, which is by the European Union, which is really working with young people, again, trying to help young people and women in agriculture and to see how they can be able to green their systems. And what we have seen is that some of the counties that we have engaged, unfortunately, we have like 8 counties that we can only work with. And out of those 8 counties, you can see that 3 of them are very progressive. And I mean, the governors are calling me almost every second day saying, well, can we do this? Can we do this? Whereas others have never heard from those governors. So the key point is that it depends on how progressive we are. Remember, we have these county strategic plans. Again, depending on how a county strategic plan is implementing climate change and issues related to it, is how then it can be able to move these things forward. And what we have seen is that some counties are more progressive, others are not. But indeed, there are good rules, there are good policies which are put in place. Of course, things like the Climate Change Act, they need to be implemented in fully. But again, I think it's taking baby step, and we hope that it will be there with our encouragement and with Kenyans as encouragement.
Great, thank you. Margaret, I see your question. We're going to enable you to post your comment. And then I see Frederick is also saying, apart from an idea, what else do I need to join the KCIC incubation program? So I guess, Edward, is it a membership-based program, or do you just, based on applications, whenever you have programs for funding, how do entrepreneurs and innovators stay in touch with KCIC?
Yeah, so we have two. Every year we have two cohorts, and those two cohorts are basically one for incubation and one for acceleration. Actually, two for incubation, two for acceleration, because we do it every 6 months where we invite people to bring their ideas. And basically what you need is you tell us your idea, we sit with you, we see whether it makes sense, and we will be able to agree that we will be able to support you. It might require some money, which is proof of concept. Sometimes it doesn't even require money. So we just need to give you some technical assistance and you push it forward. Sometimes we need to give you these 5 million shillings. So my encouragement is that, again, look into our website, see when the next one is coming. For incubation, you just need an idea. For acceleration, meaning that you have already started a business, you have a prototype, you just need to be helped to accelerate it. So therefore, you must have a business which is already operating, or a prototype which is working. But for incubation, you just need to tell me, I think I can be able to do this. We evaluate that, and if we see there is impact, then we will support you.
Wonderful, thank you. Jeff Chiaro is also having a very good idea, which he's sharing with me. Thankfully, I'm an ethical person. I'm not going to take you guys' ideas. So Jeff, I think Edward has shared his email contact. It's posted there in the chat. It's edward@edwardmungai.com. Please share with him your very fantastic idea, and hopefully he will guide you. Thank you, Jeff, for that.
Yeah, and actually, Nuru, in regards to that one for Jeff, I'm not too sure whether we have crossed, but he can check on our website, because actually we have a call for ideas for commercial forestry. And I can see his idea is within that space.
Okay.
He can have a look and see whether
forestry, yes, yes.
Commercial forestry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Edward. Joy is posting, I'm not sure that power buyback policy is in place. Kindly confirm, I have massively excessive solar power to sell to KPLC. So this is an individual power producer.
Yes, and Joy, this is commendable. And well, yes, you are right. Net metering, I don't think have kicked into effect, but what they are doing is testing. For instance, I say Strathmore is selling back power to Kenya Power, but this is going to come soon. But also, Joyce, there could be other ways that you could be able to use your excessive power. Well, and this is an innovation. Probably think about, or maybe I should give you just a quick story. This guy that I was talking about, biogas, they were trying to package it. They never managed, but they have excess biogas. So what do? They metered, or rather they piped the biogas to the hotels which are nearby them. And now they are selling that gas to the hotels. So maybe that could be a concept where you are selling power to your neighbors. Think about it, Joy.
I was going to say the same thing, because it's almost like the community hydro plants that we have around the country, where you just kind of build yourself a local ecosystem. And Edward talked about earlier this idea of pay-as-you-go economy. And the mobile phone and mobile technology has really enabled innovators like yourself, Joy, to create ecosystems and really just create your own demand and supply marketplace. Yeah. So just hopefully, Edward, she can connect with you as well, and you can help in that area as well. I see Samba Nixon. I've submitted a very viable innovation concept to KCIC in 2012 and was advised that I didn't have organizational capacity to undertake. How do I revisit this? Well, Samba, I'll tell you to take the Inuka SME training fast.
Yeah, and also Nuru, actually, I can.
Edward,
yep.
Edward, I don't know. Yeah.
No, actually, this is a good,
Yeah.
also is a very good point that he's raising here. And indeed, this is the lessons that I'm saying we are picking along the way. Because that time in 2012, we only had an acceleration program. We didn't define our services as incubation and acceleration. Now we have moved, we have incubation, we have acceleration. And indeed, Nixon, I think your idea, if it still falls under incubation, you are more than welcome to come and we try to see whether this is something that we can be able to support.
Great, thank you. I think, Rosalind, we're trying to get Margaret Kimani's line audio. So she,
oh, sorry, it's okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Nuru.
Hi, Margaret.
Hi.
Hi, you posted a very long question, so I thought it's good you just say hello to everyone and share what you're posting, please.
That's okay. Good morning, and Edward, very great presentation. I'm even embarrassed to say this, that I've never looked into your organization. So I'm glad you're doing a lot of sensitization now, but I was requesting, because I think you've explained that in the past you were not focusing much more on sensitization. So I believe the best way you can do it, and now that we have COVID, which has accelerated the climate change need and the green economy need for all of us to think about, I think the more you recruit us as proudly Kenyan citizens to go to our mashinani and our counties to do this, I think that would be the most effective way of doing it, in my opinion. Secondly, I had the women docket and the youth banking docket at State Bank of Mauritius. So my ask from you is if you can share your presentation and your contacts. We would love to collaborate. As you know, we do bank a lot of SMEs and a lot of micro SMEs, which we are very proud of supporting. And I believe this can be an area, even those ones that have been shut down, I believe this is a very beautiful area that they can invest in as a way of diversifying. So I think collaboration is what I ask. If we can collaborate, the more we collaborate, because 8% forest cover is so little. And the opportunities that come with this sector that has not been looked into are very many. Yeah, that was my ask. And I commend what Inuka is doing, Nuru and team. You guys are doing a brilliant job. I mean, even sacrificing a day like today to do this, it shows a lot of commitment. It's putting your money where your mouth is. So mad respect to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
the
Margaret.
economy never sleeps. So even if there's a public holiday, work continues. So thank
You and I both. You and I both, Nuru. And can
I don't know, Edward, do you want to respond? Yes.
Nuru, last comment kindly, so yes, I can be quiet. Last comment is, I agree with you, and especially the mentorship part. I find that a lot of businesses, a lot of us have brilliant ideas, but if you do not get the right mentorship, I cannot overemphasize. It's very important. So I think it's very important that people enroll into Inuka. And I'm not trying to market you. I know the work you're doing. I follow quite a bit. Yeah, and count all of us. We are here to add value anyway at the end of the day as Kenyan citizens. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Margaret is the type of banker that I love, the banker with a heart. Thank you, Margaret, for joining us. Edward?
And definitely, I will try and reach out to you, Margaret. I will try and get your email from Nuru and team, because indeed, I think, especially when you're talking about women and youth, we have $20 million US just for that, women and youth. And I hear the passion. I can feel it. So we will be together, and I look for you so that we see what we can do.
Asante, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Margaret. Pamela is posting a question saying, in advocating for a greener economy, does KCIC have a model of reaching to SMEs with brilliant innovations at the grassroots level? I think you've kind of touched on this, but I guess I want to take Pamela's question a bit further to ask, Edward, tell us the work that you do outside of Nairobi County. We have Nyandarua County represented here. I don't know, we'll ask other people to post in the chat which county, if they're from outside of Nairobi County, please post. So if you can talk about the county reach, this issue of equitable opportunities is an issue that we under the Inuka SME program are very passionate about. How do we reach people outside of Nairobi and outside of the main economic hubs? So maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, so for the last 7 years, Nuru, we've been operating KCIC from Nairobi and specifically from Strathmore. And what we have seen is that more than 55% of our enterprises, they are coming from outside Nairobi. But then the other 45, as you can imagine, they are SMEs, which are also serving the counties, but they are located in Nairobi. But then what we have realized now in what we call KCIC 3.0, which is our new strategy now, starting this beginning of this year, is that we are going to 8 counties, and we will have hubs in 8 counties. And those hubs are just now being established so that then we can be able to get closer to, as you call it, to mashinani. We are going to the ground because we sometimes things need different core ground. So we are trying to get there and make sure that we are serving even Kenyans who are in those counties.
Great, thank you. There were other questions that came earlier as well. There was a question about, is there a standard way to calculate carbon emissions in Kenya? And is there a penalty policy?
That's a good question. It's about carbon taxation, where we haven't yet gotten to that level where we are taxing people because of emission. What we are doing is that we are looking into the ways that you're producing and the way people are consuming, even industries. And then based on that and what impact you have in terms of the environment, then we can give you a fine. But that is nothing to do with carbon. You know, but in future, I think one of, and as many progressive countries are doing, is to include that what is called tax, carbon tax, meaning that as you emit more emissions, then you get to be taxed more. And I hope that this is something that will work. But you know, one of my research is in regards to something called voluntary environmental management systems. And basically what that means is that you do not need government to touch you so that you can behave. You can be able to behave by yourself, and even it is much better. So I'm one big proponent who support that instead of going that route of government penalizing and taxing, it is probably better that we govern ourselves through the voluntary systems.
Thank you for that. What about this issue about carbon trading? Do you want to touch on that, where we are as an economy?
Yeah, so again, that's also another challenge, and probably you know that we had Kyoto Protocol, which came to an end sometimes back in 2015. Of course, Kyoto Protocol was about carbon. Was a big component about carbon trading, and with the new dispensation, which is COP, which was arrived at in Paris in 2015, which was about the climate change pact. And that was signed by more than 196. You know, America is already almost gotten out. And in that, there was no very well clear definition in terms of carbon trading. What there was, and what remains today, is what is called voluntary carbon trading, where if I have carbon, we agree with you and we see how we exchange. And there are some schemes which are working in regards to that. And this is what I would encourage. The only problem is that we don't have transparency in terms of there's no market where this is being done, whereas in Kyoto Protocol we had that, and therefore hopefully into the future we might be able to have a trading system where people can be able to see how carbon is traded and what are the prices, and so that then it can be transparent. But for now what we have is voluntary systems, and then you just need to go into a voluntary system. Sometimes some of the challenges with carbon trading is that sometimes to certify these carbon units, it's very expensive, but something again through the voluntary scheme, it can be easier. And we still have them. For instance, just to give you an example, again, Nuru, if you allow, the other day I was speaking to my mom because she has a small biogas system, and she said the person who came to install that biogas came back after 1.5 years and came with 10,000 shillings. You know, why was he giving my mom 10,000 shillings? It's because the guy had registered his biogas systems to a carbon trading system or to a voluntary carbon trading system, and therefore then he's refunding people some money. So indeed, my mother has been a beneficiary of carbon trading. So it is happening. It's only that it is not said, like my mother doesn't understand what is carbon trading, but when she described that, then I could clearly see that what it is all about. So it is happening.
What a wonderful story. We need to hear more of these stories. If someone just shows up at my house, knocks and gives me 10K, what?
Yeah.
We need more of those stories. We need to raise awareness about that, particularly just going back to the question that was raised earlier about sewer systems, and the other question that was raised about the stigma. I think a good way to remove stigma is helping people see the commercial value of waste. Okay, so there was one last question by Juma that was raised, and he was saying that banks need to be more flexible in financing green SMEs. I think I'll take that one. I think you're right. I think as an industry, we are now beginning to appreciate this issue around the green economy and appreciate that our clients are interested in adopting environmentally responsible practices. So I will say that typically the way banks see financing is basically financing. So when you go in and say, okay, I want to a line of credit for my biogas to import and market biogas systems, the bank will just see that as a regular financing. Okay, so you won't get any additional value because you're participating in the green economy. So we are looking at how to create incentives. There is one incentive that we lobbied and were able to introduce around tax incentives. So tax incentives around green bonds. So I think slowly we are beginning to appreciate as a sector the need to create some incentives. And certainly in certain countries, certain green assets come at a cheaper price, so the cost of capital is less. So hopefully we'll be able to, in partnership with KCIC, we'll be able to advance this even more. We've actually exhausted all the questions and we are actually a little bit over time. I don't see any other questions that might have come in. My colleague Roslyn is also on the line. She can advise me if we've missed out on any questions. But during the session, we were posting questions about whether or not we think that Kenya is competitive as a green economy, and a lot of us said no, we have some work to do. What was wonderful about the poll question was we saw that the majority of us think that this COVID opportunity, this COVID cloud is actually a COVID opportunity. It's actually a kairos, it's a window of opportunity for green innovation. So, and that's really was the basis of this whole conversation. So as I wrap up, really, Edward, I don't know if there's any final point you might want to raise.
Well, I think for me, other than to appreciate everybody, is to say let's keep on trying. Remember, as I said, it's not cosmetic. Let's embed it into our business strategies as SMEs, and eventually it will pay because it is indeed paying, and it's a competitive way of making our businesses to succeed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Edward. And really, we appreciate your time, and we've gotten lots of positive feedback about your presentation, which we will be sharing. I believe we'll be sharing it with everybody, if that's okay. And we also want to thank Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor, Cecilia Mbudia, for joining us and sharing with us the Nyandarua example of what's going on and how well they're doing in really promoting forest cover. Unfortunately, we didn't get more time to really hear about what they're doing in terms of business support around the green economy. But I'm sure next time we will invite her officially to give some remarks. She raised the point about the black rain, and I did some quick research. We have actually had black rain before in the early 1990s or mid 1990s, and it is indeed a signal of air pollution. We don't know if it's pollution in Kenya or from other countries. I won't name countries, but it just kind of shows you that the reason why climate change is such a risk is because the greatest polluters are probably not the ones who are going to be affected the most. It's us who are going to be affected the most, which is why as a global economy and global community, we're really trying to address this issue about climate change, really trying to transition ourselves to a green and circular economy, lower our emissions and control global warming to 1.5% or below. So as I wrap up, I really want to encourage everybody to visit the Inuka website. We've posted on there a slide that shows you the URL. It's inukasme.co.ke. That's where you can go and get free training. These are the modules that we cover. We talk about entrepreneurship, financial management, business and strategic planning. We talk about operations and value chain management, which is a very popular module. We talk about marketing and business communications, human resource management, and these issues around navigating compliance and legal matters. So please, we encourage you, use this time to learn and equip yourself. Also on the Inuka website, we have the online mentorship every 2 weeks. Yes, so twice a month. So today is one of those mentorship sessions, and we're very happy to have had it. I don't think there are any other questions. Moeti, thank you for logging on. I see you saying thank you very much. Awesome presentation. Collins, I see you saying thank you very much. Awesome presentation. So lots of feedback and positive feedback from everybody. So Edward, really, you probably are going to run a marathon now. So thank you. Thank you for—
I'm already done for the day.
Probably your bottom half is probably tracksuit and running shoes. But thank you. Thank you so much for all your time. And we really appreciate everybody who has spent their time with us. Marie, thank you as well. James, thank you as well. So much. Thank you for joining us. And I hope everybody can just stay encouraged. I know it's a difficult time for all of us. I know there's lots of mental pressure, lots of family pressure, lots of business pressure. But just know and have faith that things are going to get better. With every new day, with every new dawn, we have a new opportunity. So let's just stay positive. Let's look at the opportunities with the green economy. Let's do our research to see what are those opportunities. And please, those of us who have those wonderful ideas, get in touch with Kenya Climate Innovation Center. All right, thank you all. That's the end. Thank you, bye.
Thank you, Nuru. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Roslyn, as well. Thank you, Roslyn.
All right, ciao. Thank you.
Ciao. Thank you, bye. Thank you, Grace, for your feedback. And Kizito, thank you for your feedback. Please come back again.
Bye, Nuru.
All right. Thank you, Your Excellency, for coming.
Yeah,
We will
very
be
good
in
to
touch.
meet you online.
Thank you. Thank you. We
Okay,
will
bye.
be in touch. I think it'll be good to have a county edition. So for sure, we will be in touch.
Okay, most welcome.
Thank you. God
Good day.
bless. Thank you. Thank you, Samba, for your feedback that this is better than the chats. Yeah, we're going to try to make it a little bit more dynamic as well. So thank you for that. Thank you, Kizito. Thank you.